And then he says, ثُمَّ لَأَتِيَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ, and I will come upon them from before them, وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ, and behind them, وَعَنْ أَيْمَانِهِمْ, and to their rights, وَعَنْ شَمَائِلِهِمْ, and to their lefts, وَلَا تَجِدُ أَكْثَرَهُمْ شَاكِرِينَ, and you will not find most of them filled with gratitude. So this is important too, because what Iblis has set out to do now is show that they're ingrates. That's what he wants to do. He wants to show God that you made a mistake. You shouldn't have made him the Khalifa, the Caliph on earth. And you're going to see that they're not going to be grateful for what you've given them in the first place. This is what he wants to do. Now, what's interesting, Ibn al-Hajj mentions that when he says, I'll come before them, behind them, to their right, to their left, he didn't mention 2 directions. So he's got 4 directions, right? And there's 6 directions. There's the zenith, the nadir, and then the 4 cardinal directions. He says he'll come on all those 4 cardinal directions, but he won't come from above or below. He didn't say, وَلَا أَتِيَنَّ مِنْ فَوْقِهِمْ وَمِنْ تَحْتِهِمْ. I won't come from over them or below them. The reason that the commentators say that is because what comes from above is revelation. And as long as you have a connection with God, he doesn't have access to that. He can't cut you off from God unless you cut yourself off. And he can't come from under because that's a place of humility. And he's arrogant. He wouldn't put himself under you. So you being humble, that's why, when does Shaytan flee according to the hadith? When you're in sajda. Because he can't bear that. Humility before God. And so it's very interesting, this story, because what it's telling us is that if you place God in his right position and you place yourself in your right position, which is that you see God over you and you're under, in prostration, in this state of submission, Shaytan has no access. But as long as you're wandering around in this horizontal field, not in a vertical state, right? Because the vertical is up, down. Horizontal is looking around on this plane. It's the material plane. It's 2 dimensions. You're not allowing for that vertical plane, and so you're lost. You're lost. And the whole point of being upright is that you are vertical on a horizontal plane. If you go horizontal, right, lie down on the job, then he gets in there. That's why it's very easy for him, especially sleep is a really easy time. If you don't do wudu, you don't do those things. Those are all hadiths about that. And then Allah again, قَالَ خُرُجْ مِنْهَا مَذْءُومًا مَدْحُورًا. He banished them again, degraded, banished. And then he says that whoever follows you, لَمَنْ تَبِعَكَ مِنْهُمْ لَأَمْلَأَنَّ جَهَنَّمَ مِنْكُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. I'm going to fill Jahannam with them. Those people that follow you, you're their imam. And you're headed to that place, so you're going to take them with you. So if you take him as an imam, that's where he's taking you. And then it says, after that, Ya Adam. Now he speaks to Adam, who's the Khalifa, the angels were told to bow down to him. He says, Ya Adam, O Adam, uskun anta wa zawjuka, go live, you and your wife, al-jannata, in this paradise. فَكُلَا مِنْ حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا, and eat from whence you will, wherever you want. وَلَا تَقْرَبَ هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ, but don't go near this tree over here. فَتَكُونَ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ, because you will transgress by doing that. So here's all the boundaries and here's the hudud. Those are called the hudud. This is what the beautiful hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ says, Al-halal, inna al-halala bayyinun wa al-harama bayyinun wa baynahuma umurun mushtabihat. That halal is clear, haram is clear. What's permitted, what's prohibited, it's all clear. And between them are these gray matters. So he's basically told everything here is for you except this one thing. Don't go there. And he tells him, if you go there, you'll be from the wrongdoers, the zalama. تَظْلِمُ نَفْسَكَ وَتَظْلِمُ حَقَّ اللَّهِ. You not only wrong yourselves, but you wrong the right of Allah. You don't harm Allah. You can't do anything to Allah. But you can transgress a haqq, what is due to Allah. And what is due is that Allah is obeyed if He tells you to do something. Now, at this point it says, فَوَسْوَسَ لَهُمَ الشَّيْطَانِ. So Shaytan came and he waswasa. Now, if you know, this is a type of word that actually sounds like the action. The Arabs have some words that sound like the action, onomatopoeic, I think they call it in English. Like buzz. Buzz is one of those words in English. It sounds like a bee buzzing. This word is waswasa, is to whisper. You can even hear it in English, whisper. I mean, it's similar, maybe even a cognate if you get back far enough. فَوَسْوَسَ لَهُمَا. Shaytan waswasa lahuma. Now, waswasa lahuma, the Arabs say waswasa ilayhi, waswasa lahuma. Waswasa lahuma is different from waswasa ilayhi. If you said waswasa ilayhi, it means Shaytan whispered to them. But when you say waswasa lahuma, it's that he did it because of something. In other words, he had some goal here. فَوَسْوَسَ لَهُمَا. He whispered to them for a reason. And the amazing thing about whispering is whenever somebody lowers their voice to a whisper, it's always a very interesting moment. Because what changed that? They didn't want somebody to hear something, or they're worried. I just want to tell you. I mean, there's something going on with a whisper that's very interesting. It's like you'll be intimate because you love somebody, things like that. And that's, again, because you don't want anybody to hear. It's just it's for your ears only. Right? That's a lover's whisper. But here, there's another type of whisper. And there's even what's called khiyanat al-uyun. The Arabs call it khiyanat al-uyun, which is when the king or some person in charge, I mean, there's plenty of Arab rulers now that probably are very good at this. It's looking with your eye that indicates to the others, get rid of him. And you see it a lot it's kind of a Shakespearean motif. He looks at him and you know what to do. And then that's it for that person, right? They don't come back in the play. So this is what he's up to. He's got this فَوَسْوَسَ لَهُمَا الشَّيْطَانُ لِيُبْدِيَ لَهُمَا. Now there's a difference about this lam, and this is one of the things about tafsir. Some people say that lam is lam al-ta'qib, or lam al-aqiba, or the lam of sayrura, the Arabs call it, which is a lam that's used, like if you look, how does he translate it here in the English? He says, then Satan whispered to them that he might manifest unto them that which was hidden. In other words, he did it for that reason. That is not the opinion of some of the mufassirun. They say the lam is actually like the lam in the Quran about al-Fir'aun. It says, فَالْتَقَطَهُ آلُ فِرْعَوْنَ. آلُ Fir'aun, when they took Musa, لِيَتَّخِذَهُ لِيَكُونَ لَهُمْ عَدُوًا وَحُزْنًا. That they took Musa, and then it says, لِيَكُونَ لَهُمْ. And it looks like in order for him to be an enemy for them and to be a source of grief. Well, that's obviously they didn't do that for that reason. So the lam there is, but that's what happens because of doing that. So this lam here could either mean that he did it in order to do that, or it means that was the result of him doing it. فَوَسْوَسَ لَهُمْ لِيُبْدِيَهُمْ. That in order to show them, and this resulted in them seeing, right? لِيُبْدِيَ لَهُمَا مَا وُرِيَ عَنْهُمَا. That which was hidden from them. Min sawatihima, from their nakedness. Now, sawa in Arabic, the Arabs call private parts the sawa. And the reason they do that is because kashfuhu yasu'uhu, that if it's exposed, he feels shame. Now, what's interesting is that there's a belief amongst most of the scholars that the sawa, this desire to cover the nakedness, is fitra, which is why the vast majority of Aboriginal people cover their private parts. There are very, very few human beings on the planet that go around naked. And even the ones that do will tend to do something. I mean, even if you look at these Aboriginal peoples in South America, they tend to cover, or they strap, or they do something because it's part of the fitrah of doing this. And it always fascinated me, these books in evolution where they'll show the monkey, and then at a certain point, he's wearing a garment. And you just wonder why he did that. So at a certain point, he thought, I should cover this part of me. What made him do that? Right? I mean, you can look in those books. I always wondered about that, because suddenly it's a Cro-Magnon man or something like that, and he's wearing, a little skimpy thing around there. It's not like he's suddenly in a tuxedo or, I mean, he's just progressed to that stage of being aware of his nakedness. And this is the point of this story, is that he became aware of his nakedness. Now, some of the ulama say that they had garments of light, and that's what was removed. That they were in a state of just such intense purity that their whole bodies were veiled in this light. And you can have a situation where you actually that happens. You can see somebody in a type of, they call it a hala. The Arabs call it a hala. In English, they call it a halo. You often see like Byzantine, these icons of these Byzantine people. I mean, where do they get that concept from if there wasn't some experience of that somehow, this idea of this body of light that can actually surround somebody? I mean, I was telling one of my boys, we were leaving one day, and we did a dua in the car, and I said, that dua is for protection. And he said, how does it protect you? And I said, well, if you do it, you're recognizing that you're in need of God's protection. And just that recognition alone, God will put this protection around you for that reason. And he said, oh, so is it like a bubble of light that goes around you? And I said, that sounds good.